When I saw all of the destruction, I was unable to control myself. I've never seen these kinds of things in my lifetime.
Most of these children were terribly affected. I've been able to bring back the smiles to their faces by singing and plays and drama and games.
As always, every disaster, every emergency in any part of the world gives you this opening for a larger engagement.
Hello, I'm Tim Frakes, Mosaic Television producer on special assignment in India. On December 26, 2004, an earthquake triggered a massive ocean wave that killed tens of thousands across South Asia. In this program, we'll see ELCA Disaster Response in action through one of its partners, the United Evangelical Lutheran Church in India. It's a story of dignity in disaster, justice in life.
My name is Augustine, photographer from Kadalur.
December 26th was a Sunday, so as usual we were getting ready to go to church. Then I got a call from some friends who wanted me to come shoot video of a birthday party. On my way to the party, I noticed that people were shouting, "Water is coming! Water is coming!" When I saw all of the destruction, I was unable to control myself. I've never seen these kinds of things in my lifetime. Parents were trying to look after their children, but the children were missing. The children were looking for their parents were missing. Dead bodies and children and other people were carried by people. People were gathering their sheep and cows, broken motorcycles and other vehicles. All of this made me feel terrible.
Setu is a fisherman in a village along the coast.
When the tsunami came, I tried to hang on to my boat, but I couldn't. The water was up to the coconut trees, and my clothes became wrapped around my neck. I was about to die as my clothes tightened around my neck.
For Setu and thousands like him, December 26, 2004 is a day they will never forget. When the tsunami struck here in Tamil Nadu, India, ELCA International Disaster Response was able to act quickly and effectively because Lutherans in America have a strong, long-term relationship with the United Evangelical Lutheran Church in India.
When we respond to disasters like tsunami, be it the hurricanes that hit Florida in the southeast, or even just the silent disaster of chronic hunger and poverty, we respond with partners who are members of that community. Sometimes they're the Lutheran Church in the area, sometimes they're community agencies. Sometimes we're responding collaboratively with other church partners, but we respond as a member of that community, working through the community resources and the assets and gifts of that community. We do it that way because that's probably the most effective way to respond appropriately in that context. It also helps that community become stronger because they're using their own resources and they're strengthening their capacity to respond to the next disaster.
This is the headquarters of the United Evangelical Lutheran Church in India. In the days immediately following the tsunami, staff from the UELCI fanned out along the coast, assessing damage and organizing relief efforts.
The United Evangelical Lutheran Church in India is a communion of 11 Lutheran churches. We are one of the oldest communions in the country, as well as in Asia. We're talking about, say, about 2 million, 1.5 to 2 million Lutherans. We are a minuscule minority.
With 1.5 to 2 million Lutherans, it's difficult to see how the UELCI is a minority, until you remember that India has a population of 1 billion.
We are going to celebrate 300 years of mission history in India in 2006. In 1706, pietist missionaries from Germany were sent by the Danish king to the Tranquebar coast. And then they brought the gospel to this country. And we were the first Protestant mission. My own personal memories, I was away with my family to another place celebrating Christmas and saw this news on the media. Came as a rude shock. It also became a faith challenge. The faith challenge because here we are just come out of celebrating Christmas, and how do we celebrate with this tragedy? So immediately we converted the room next to mine as a tsunami information control room. And we set up a computer, and then we displayed visually all our responses through our operations.
Join noted travel author and public television host Rick Steves in an exclusive 5-program journey through church history and global mission. In Faithful Travel, Steves asks fellow travelers to consider the impact of their travel on the people they meet and to think carefully about how their travel helps or hinders matters of peace and justice. Faithful Travel includes 4 additional programs featuring Rick Steves: Opening the Door to Luther, The Life of Apostle Paul, Weaving a Global Neighborhood, and In the City for Good. Get all 5 programs and a user's guide on 1 DVD for $39.95, including shipping from Mosaic Television. Call 800-638-3522, extension 6009, or on the web at elca.org/mosaic.
Raising funds in the wake of disaster is something Lutherans in America do well. But distributing that money where it's most needed can be tricky business. That's where partners like the United Evangelical Lutheran Church in India come into play. This is the remains of a house in New Kalpakkam, a fishing village just south of Chennai. On the day the tsunami hit, fisherfolk were busy working with their nets on the beach. Seeing the wave approaching, they sounded the alarm. This warning saved many lives. K.E. Morthy is a fisherman, like his father and his grandfather before him.
On the day of the tsunami, I was going from my home to the sea, and then the wave came. I was going to catch my boat and pull it onto the shore, but the wave was very strong and another boat was dashing onto me. Then I started running. To save myself, I ran to a house and caught hold of a wall. At that time, I was injured when a boat crashed into me. The water level in the house then was very high, and I couldn't manage to keep my head above water. I was struggling to survive.
New Calpacum had more than 40 fishing boats before the tsunami hit. These 4 boats were donated by relief agencies. But there's no way to fairly divide 4 boats between 40 fishing families. So these vessels sit idle.
Working with our partners who are members of the community in which we're responding helps us to be aware of cultural sensitivities, helps us to be aware of the ways in which our gifts can be most effective. We work with cooperatives, with organizations that will work directly with people who have been affected, but work with them in the way that's appropriate for that context. These partners are really a gift to our church because they help us do our ministry most effectively.
One way Lutherans in America are working with Lutherans in India is right here at the Academy of Disaster Management, Education, Planning, and Training. Dr. Yuga Thamdas is the Academy's director.
When we came here to Cuddalore, this was roughly around the 28th, 29th of December. We found this campus here, which was meant as a teacher's training college, which was currently not being used. And we thought it was ideal for our setup. Now, what was most striking in this particular disaster was that less than 5% of the unsettled population had suffered any physical trauma. And almost 100% were affected psychologically. So we were wondering how we could provide any sort of assistance to these almost 80 to 90,000 people who were spread out along a coastline of about 60 to 70 kilometers. Many of them in remote areas where you had to travel by boat for an hour and then walk for another hour before you could get to the village. These people had gone through a very severe traumatic experience, and they would not connect with anybody who had not gone through that same experience. So they would look upon anybody else as an outsider. So we thought that the best way to handle this situation would be to take people from within the community that has been affected, give them rudimentary basics of counseling techniques, and send them back into the field to counsel their fellow human beings. The building next to us was meant to be a dining hall, which we have converted into a training hall. We bring teachers, youth from the community, college students from the affected community, health workers, and other municipal workers in groups of maybe 50 to 60 at a time, during which we train them on the various phases of disaster, what are the various psychological responses of people to the various phases of disaster, and how they, as lay people, or lay counselors if you want to call them, can provide succor and help to the people who have undergone a major psychological trauma and who do not know where to look for help.
M. Padmathavi is a grade school teacher.
After the tragedy of December 26, I found that there were a lot of students in my class who were terribly upset and going through psychological anguish. I was wondering how I could help them. I heard about this training camp and I volunteered to come here to be trained in counseling. Being trained in counseling, I now find that I've been enriched, and now I'm in a position to counsel my students and even their parents, and also the general community in which I live. I find it has given me a new purpose in life. The children were looking forward to the holidays and a time of celebration and enjoyment when the tsunami struck. Not only did they not have their celebration and enjoyment, but they also went through personal tragedy, which just completely shattered them. Most of these children were badly affected. Many of them had water up to their necks. Many of them were hanging onto windows and rafters for nearly an hour in the water. They were terribly affected. I've been able to bring back the smiles to their faces by singing and plays and drama and games, and now I feel very happy that I've been able to help them do something with their lives.
Oh, I'll take this one. Thanks. Most of the tsunami relief went to help families who were directly affected by the killer wave. But Lutherans here in Cuddalore were also able to identify many less obvious tsunami victims. This was a busy fish market before the tsunami. Now it's quiet. The women who make their living cleaning and preparing the fish were not eligible for government tsunami relief. That's when the church stepped in.
6 months ago, when you come in the morning and come in the evening, the whole campus, all the shelters will be full of small fishing women who sell the fish, and the people who sell the dry fish, and the people who clean the fish. And you can see a lot of people coming here and buying fish and eat. Fish is a delicious food that many people like it. And also, after the tsunami, even if there is a fish, people have a fear whether we can eat the fish or not. That is still in their mind. But now people started to buy and eat because they get fish from different part of the other places in India. Therefore, they started to eat. And they also get the local inland fish from lake, from river, and they started selling this nowadays. And that is why these shops is very limited and few women are involved in this deal.
It is difficult for us these days. When it gets really bad, we go and get a loan of money. But then there are interest payments to make. Sometimes we eat only one time a day. That's how we are living. We have to wait till they go fishing. Then we will get some fish to sell. The UELCI has given us clothes to wear, utensils, rice, and oil. We are so happy and proud that the church has helped us. Thank you.
Vidya Rani is head of the UELCI's women's desk.
Indian society is a very strong patriarchal society, male-dominated society. And in this tsunami victims, it is mostly the fishing communities where male domination is double. After the tsunami, all the men were focusing on the restoration of their livelihoods, and the women were sort of neglected. See, they were all dumped in the relief camps. It is their headache to take care of the children, especially when it is the girl children. And when we talk about the collectives, like giving them the nets, boats and motors, then they said it is a collective decision, if it is a collective ownership. But unfortunately, women were not at all involved. Until when we said, yes, we want to see women also, it's not there in their mind at all. So it is sort of discrimination against them. They are not even treated in par with anybody, just to make simple decisions. You know? So I thought this sort of relief, if not focused, they would be discriminated further.
The ELCA responds to disaster in two ways: domestic and international.
Domestic disaster is bound by the regional system of the ELCA and its territories. International is everything outside of the region ELCA system. ELCA also serves folks that have been impacted by domestic disasters. That's natural caused disasters or human caused disasters. And the mission of our work is to bring healing and help to those who have been affected by these types of disasters. Most recently, in the last year, we had 4 hurricanes impact over 12 states across the eastern United States. We respond at a grassroots level by partnering with our local social ministry organizations, and they help us grant out dollars, they help us coordinate volunteers, and they help us train and prepare for the next disaster. Missionally, again, we are focused on helping and bringing hope to those who've been impacted, but we're also very supportive of those who might live on the margins, the poor, the migrant worker, the immigrant, those who don't have access to those response disaster recovery systems. Specifically for Florida, there's a huge elderly and migrant population that were extremely devastated these last 4 hurricanes, still have no home, still have no work, and you know when you can't work, you can't support your family. Hunger is a huge issue regarding these populations. The Red Cross and Lutheran congregations are still supporting folks with providing food and even some health and medical resources.
So, international disaster response is really no different than domestic disaster response. The ELCA finds reliable, qualified local experts who make informed decisions within their own communities.
Through all of this, the Lutheran Church in India is working very hard. The Lutheran Church went door to door and surveyed people, asking them what is missing and what is the real need of the family. Our people mingled with the victims as if they were family members. They have made good records and collected all the details to identify the people who are in real need. And they are doing this with the help and cooperation of the local government. Now, people are happy that we have a strong group of people who can help during this crisis.
We as a church, we know that we are not only sustaining lives, we also have to celebrate life. So you cannot celebrate life by looking at only relief, livelihood and rehabilitation. But you want to celebrate life with these communities beyond what we see as our engagement with the tsunami. One of our strongest partners, who right from the beginning are willing to walk with us in this particular faith struggle, has been the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. And I'm very happy to tell you, Tim, that the first few calls inquiring about the tsunami, about the ELCA's engagement, and sharing their blessing with us and encouragement was the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Bishop Mark Hansen calling gave us a lot of energy. The Reverend Rafael Malpika Padilla calling. And this was followed up immediately with journalists coming and a high-powered team led by the DGM director with representatives from the Lutheran World Relief. We have gone a long way.
The Masi Magam festival falls on the day of the full moon in the Tamil month of Masi. Hindu deities from local temples parade to the ocean in a noisy, colorful procession. The idea is to remember those who died during the past year and to wash away one's sins. This year's festival is special. It's one of the first holidays following the tsunami. As we record the scene, we find ourselves caught up in the celebration. No longer observers, we become participants. And like our video team, the ELCA becomes part of the community before, during, and long after disaster strikes. We share in sorrows, joys, and the celebration of life. We walk together. Before visiting India, we expected scenes of sorrow and despair. We did see struggle, but we also witnessed rejoicing and celebration. The Hindus, Muslims, and Lutherans of Tamil Nadu, India, are wonderful examples of hope in the midst of despair. They've turned mourning into dancing. Through the ELCA Disaster Response, the long-term relationships strengthened during this crisis, they're only going to grow stronger in the future.